So we know these warm temperatures have the Minnesota DNR sending a strong message to everyone about the dangers of thinning ice. So Pauline Lee is at the DNR central office this morning with more on what they have to say, because it's more than just stay off the ice, Pauline.
Yeah, that's right. Normally you might see those big signs that are out on our bigger bodies of water indicating that it might be thin ice. But what about those smaller ponds, the neighborhood ponds, the drainage ditches? Those we have to worry about too, especially if we have kids. So we have Nicole here. She's the ice safety coordinator here at the DNR. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So you've been keeping a very close eye on the ice this year. Like every year, right?
Yeah, this year's been especially unusual, but we do always keep a close eye because it's never 100% safe.
Right.
So we always have to.
So we do have some video that the DNR team went out to look at the lakes and our bodies of water earlier this week. So what did it look like earlier this week?
So it was already starting to rot on a lot of the smaller ponds and little neighborhood drainage ditches and areas where there's vegetation or rocks that start to warm up from the sun and really melt the shoreline fast. And even though there might be like 4 inches on some of those small ponds still, it's starting to rot, and so it's not as strong as it is when it's new clear ice, which means that you can fall through pretty easily.
Right, and obviously we've seen the dangers all this winter with cars going through big bodies of water, but what about those smaller lakes, the smaller ponds, the neighborhood ponds, drainage ditches? How dangerous are those?
Well, they're really a magnet for young kids. So a lot of times, you know, kids are just playing in the yard or playing at the park, and there might be a small pond that they don't understand the danger of. And if they walk out on there, they can fall through. And if they do fall through, that means that the ice is thin or weak, and that an adult won't be able to make it out there to rescue them. So it becomes very dangerous and hard to rescue them.
Yeah, you guys told us an interesting tip. What is it? In the last 25 years, about 8 children have fallen through these small bodies of water and died.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have seen a lot of tragedies with young children, you know, under the age of 10, that just don't understand the danger and happen to, you know, kind of run off and check out the ice. And if they fall through and they gasp from the cold water, it can just take one breath and choking in that cold water for them to drown.
So the Minnesota DNR is encouraging everyone to stay off the ice, especially with our rising temperatures. So Pauline Lee is in St. Paul this morning. She's at the DNR with a closer look at some of the dangers. And Pauline, some of the dangers that you might not automatically think about.
Yeah, that's right. Heather, you probably know this too. We could explain to kids all we want about the dangers of not being on the ice right now because it's thin, because the water, the temperature is warming. But sometimes it's just hard for kids to comprehend depending on their age. So what happens if they go through, especially on those smaller ponds near the neighborhoods, those drainage ditches? We have some tips this morning. We're getting the best of the best with Nicole here, the ice safety coordinator here at the DNR. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's just recap really quickly. How dangerous is it for those smaller neighborhood ponds, the drainage ditches for kids?
So they really are a magnet for young kids. We talk about it a lot because there have been tragedies in the past where young kids just find their way out onto the ice, whether they're playing nearby and accidentally end up on the ice, or they see it and they want to run out on the ice to check it out. And if they fall through, it can quickly turn to tragedy. Drowning happens very quickly in cold water.
It takes just one breath, you said. Yeah. So what can we do as adults to help them out and not get in trouble ourselves?
So it's important to talk to young kids, remind them to stay away from the ice. If they do happen to run out on the ice, whether they fall through or not, you shouldn't go out, because if they fall through, your body weight will not be supported out there. So what you want to have is the safety gear ready to go by your door, especially if you live on a pond. So have a throw rope where if your child does fall through, you can stay on shore and throw this to them and pull them to safety.
Got it.
And then have a foam life jacket so that if, you know, you can throw it to them if they're close enough so that they can have something to hang on to stay afloat, or you can put it on if you have to inch out onto the ice to try to save them. You want to make sure to have this on, otherwise you'll fall through and you'll be 2 victims in the water.
And you mentioned foam. Foam is important. Why?
So inflatable life jackets are known to not inflate properly in cold water below 50 degrees. So we recommend always having foam, something that's inherently buoyant in the winter.
Right, and plus if you have anything else, I mean, ice is sharp too.
Right, ice can potentially pierce the inflatable. And then having a whistle is always a good idea to have that, because you can make sure to get other people's attention, call for help. You can lose your breath quickly when you fall into the water, and it's hard to yell for help, so having the whistle.
And those are 2 very simple things that you can do, but can be life-changing so long as you remember how to use them and use them properly. So we're going to talk more in the 7 o'clock hour in our streaming service. How do you have that conversation with your kids? And we'll have some more tips on venturing out on the ice, which again may want to wait until next winter. Hopefully hopefully we'll get some better conditions then.
Foam, Pauline, I never knew that. Great tip there.
I didn't either.
Yeah, and another thing that she was talking about, I think is really interesting here, is that some of these ditches and these ponds, they're not all that deep, but it doesn't matter. It's not the depth. It's just even that first breath that the kids would take in falling in.
Right, you're right. Those smaller ponds, they're not that deep. And even so, Nicole, you said some of the vegetation below can also thin the ice, maybe sometimes even quicker than the bigger bodies of water.
Yeah, so something that happens in any body of water where there is vegetation, but these small ponds with wetlands, a lot of vegetation, it decays. And when it's decaying, it releases gas bubbles, which bring warm water up from the bottom and can melt the ice from underneath where you can't see it melting, which creates a big hazard.
Right, so you have the ice melting from underneath, and then you also have on sunny days that sun melting the ice from above. So that just creates even more dangers on the ice, Heather.
Yeah, I don't think you're safe just because it might be shallow. All right, Pauline, thank you.